It's Thursday morning in Arlington, and in his subterranean workshop, Frank Rogers is tending his wounds.
So what I'm doing is taking various silicone and gelatin pieces, and to give them depth, we go in with a black in the bottom of the piece to make it look deeper. Then we'll add reds, obviously, in here. We'll add some more skin tones, and that will give it some depth and life.
For more than 40 years, Rogers has done the opposite of most makeup artists. He has worked hard to make people look older and less attractive.
My work has always provided an outlet that seemingly I needed. I mean, I literally started when I was 8 years old. Even worse, when you're 8 years old and you start getting paid when you're about 10 or 12 to do things, then you're never really going to let go of that.
While Rogers has worked on major Hollywood films and television programs, the D.C. area is his home, and he prefers to concentrate on the projects available here. That includes government and historical films and projects for local businesses.
So I've done a lot of instructional films, I've done a lot of governmental films, I've done a lot of various types of things.
Recently, he was called upon to recreate the popular Geico caveman for use in a corporate video by the D.C.-based insurance company.
We did two guys cast their faces because the Geico caveman is something you can't get by with really stock pieces. So we cast their pieces, made dentures for them, made beards for them, made hair for them.
Transforming an actor into a Neanderthal requires more than a few layers of foundation. First, full casts were made of the actors' faces.
The process is a little odd. The person has to be kind of cut off, and actors have told me it feels like an immersion tank or a sensory deprivation tank, or they tell me it's just like hell itself, one of the two. We took the person, we did an alginate over his face. We then took that off. He breathed through his nose. We then filled that alginate with plaster, and then this was what we got out of it. It's not really pretty right now. Now the prosthetics then are then taken and glued, and a lot of care is taken about the edges especially, where it's glued to the person's face. And the nice thing about a lot of the silicones that we have now is as you put it on, you can almost see it go away immediately.
21st century cavemen are a lot of fun to create, but the work Rogers takes particular pride in is creating realistic old age and look-alike makeup.
So I've always loved old age. I think it's the hardest thing to do. I've been very happy with mine. I did one for a film called Samaritan that was on Cicely Tyson, where she wanted to be an old bag lady, an old homeless person. And it worked out really well. I study faces all the time. My wife has had to tell me to not stare at the old people, because I'm always collecting. I'm always taking things in.
The entertainment industry can be extremely competitive, and most artists will take whatever work they can get. Yet, for all of his monsters, deformities, and old age work, there are some things Frank Rogers just won't do.
I don't do a lot of gross stuff. I have a relationship with Christ, and I can't picture myself and Christ sitting there doing those films. And most of the films I find, they say, well, it's just violence. Well, it generally is a kind of a pornography in one way or another. But then I would get calls for the Red Cross to do their training films on how to take care of just those injuries. So we'd have to do even more accurate things. But it was the same effect, it was just put for a decent purpose. Turning down films has been a good hobby, and but then it's always provided an outlet that is good, and that I don't have to be ashamed to go into work.
Most of us are in no hurry to look older or to have a disfiguring injury, but because sometimes there is a need for such representations, Frank Rogers is working in his studio to make the most realistic effects possible.